So last time we looked at a finished project, this global studies video that I made, and we broke down the different parts of it. So in video track 1, we have our A-roll video, which is our footage from our interviews. And then in audio track 1, we have our A-roll audio, which is our audio from our interviews. Video track 2 has our B-roll. Video track 3 has some text. These are labels for photos that were taken by student photographers. And then audio track 2 has music. So we're going to look at how we can add music, how we can change the length of that music, and how we can add some transitions to our interview A-roll audio to make it sound a little bit more smooth. So let's take a look at my project before I added music, before I added B-roll. So I just have the interviews laid out. I've sequenced them in a way to tell a story, and now I want to add some music. So a couple of options for you. Let's go on to our haiku page. So on our haiku page, if you go to the Unit 5 page, there are resources here, and one of those is licensed music for projects. If you click on this, it's going to open up a Google Drive folder, and this folder contains 2 folders. It's got one that has premiumbeat.com full tracks and then short tracks in the other folder. So I'm going to select both of these and I'm going to download them. Okay, so Drive has zipped up those files for me and now I can download them. I'm going to save them in my Intro to Digital Media, Fall 17 documentary, and then my name folder right here. I'm going to create a new folder called Music and say save right there. Okay, so now we have downloaded this folder, but it's compressed, and Premiere can't read a compressed folder. So what we need to do is double click on this, and you can right click and copy these files, these folders, back into your music folder, paste them here. And once that's done, I'm just going to delete this Drive folder, this compressed folder, because we don't need it anymore. And I'm just going to drag this entire music folder into the project window. And now we have all of these tracks in here. And so I'm gonna search through the full tracks, and I'm gonna try to find something that works. I think for this video I used Let's Shape the Future. So if I double click on this, it's going to show up in our source monitor. Since there is no video attached to this file, it's just audio, we're going to see this audio waveform by default in the source monitor. And I really like this song for the piece, but the problem is it's 2 minutes and 40 seconds long, and my target length for this project is 2 minutes and 10 seconds long. After these interviews, I'm going to have a little slide that shows where people can get more information about global studies, so I need it to be a little bit longer than the 2 minutes that the interviews take up. I'm going to go ahead and grab this waveform icon here and drag the audio into my sequence. And luckily, there's a really easy way to make this audio track the length that I want it. So I'm going to click on it to select it with my selection tool, and then I'm going to right click, Edit Clip in Adobe Audition. So Adobe Audition is a dedicated audio editing software in the Adobe Creative Suite. And the great thing about Premiere and all of these applications that are in the Adobe Creative Suite is that they work really well together. So this takes us right into Audition, and we have our track right here. And what we need to do first is say File, New, Multi-Track Session. And I'm going to name this Let's Shape the Future, 2 minutes, 10 seconds. And then I'm going to browse and I'm going to put it into the folder where I want it, which is actually right here, Intro to Digital Media, Fall 17, Documentary, Riffy, and then I'm going to click on Music, and then select folder. Click OK. And it's going to bring up this window that has 6 audio tracks. We only need the first one. Let's go ahead and grab this audio track here with the waveform icon and put it into track 1. This scroll bar up here will allow you to zoom out or zoom in. I'm going to zoom all the way out, and by default the move tool might be selected. Let's go to the time selection tool, which is T on your keyboard, or you can click on it up here. And from the back, I'm just going to select this entire track. Then I'm going to hover over on the end of my selection and just pull it in until it snaps to the end of my audio track. And now it's completely selected. On the right here, we need to assign a mix type. This is music, so we're going to say music. We don't want to unify loudness. We don't want to change the volume of this clip. So I'm going to uncheck that, but we do want to change the duration. So I'm going to check the duration checkbox, and then I'm going to type in my target length, which is 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And then I'm going to click on Remix. What Remix is going to do is adjust the duration of the clip without changing the tempo. If we use Stretch, it might adjust the tempo. We don't want that. We like the tempo, so let's click on Remix. And then Audition is going to analyze the clip, find places where it can make cuts, and then get rid of some of the audio, but it's going to make it sound pretty seamless. Okay, so it's done it. And these jagged lines here show us exactly where those cuts happened. I'm going to just go right before the cut, and I want to listen and hear if it sounds natural. One for one, that's perfect. I mean, that was completely seamless. That one wasn't quite as good, but I don't think it's going to be noticeable because it's going to be in the background while the interviews are playing. Let's hear this last one. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to deselect it, and then I'm going to say File, Export, Export to Adobe Premiere Pro. And then you just want to make sure that this Open in Adobe Premiere Pro box is checked. We'll say Export, and it's going to bring it straight into our project. When it does, it's going to ask us if we want to copy it into our active sequence. As long as we have the sequence that we are editing in selected, this one that has all of my interviews in it, I'm going to click OK. And it's going to create a new audio track down here. And I'm actually going to delete my longer music track. And then I'm going to pull our new one, our shorter one, up into audio track 2. Now we need to set the volume of this clip. I think it's going to be too loud. We don't want to overpower these interviews. So let's just listen to the first part of the song with the interviews.
I went on a trip to France and Toulouse last year during spring break.
I went on the Karen for Cambodia trip. I went on the Iceland trip.
Quebec City.
The Bulgaria trip.
See how it's kind of drowning out the interviews? So we need to lower the level of this audio. The easiest way to do that is to hit G on the keyboard. It's going to bring up our audio gain options, and there's a few different settings. We can adjust gain by, and if we hit something like -13, it's going to change the overall gain of this clip. It's going to bring it down by 13 decibels. So I'm going to say OK. Now, if we listen to this,
Toulouse, France trip. Bulgaria.
And we decide that the audio is too loud or it's too quiet, we can hit gain again, G for gain. And then we can adjust gain by. We could say, I want it to be 2 decibels louder than that. So I just type 2 in here, and you'll see that your level goes up to -11 decibels instead of -13. If we thought it was too loud, we could say -2, and it would change that to -15. If we just want to set our level without adjusting by a certain amount, we could just say, okay, I want this to be -15 by clicking on Set Gain To, and then you can just set your gain level. I actually think 13 is good, so I'm going to keep it there.
And I wanted to go to that country and practice and speak that language.
So usually anywhere from -10 to -20 decibels is going to be good, somewhere in that range, depending on how loud the music is, whenever you have interviews as your A-roll audio, because you don't want to overpower those interviews. Now, you probably noticed that there were 2 folders in here. There were full tracks and there were short tracks. If you just want a pre-made track that is a shorter length, a lot of these full tracks also come in shorter versions. So let's go find, this was called Let's Shape the Future. Let's go find what other versions we have of that. So Let's Shape the Future also comes in a 17-second version. You can see that here, a 33-second version, and a 64-second version. It doesn't come in a 2-minute and 10-second version, so I think it was easiest to work from the full track and then change the duration of it in Adobe Audition. One other quick tip. If you can't find something in your project window, you can type in the search bar here. So like if I couldn't find that clip, I know it has future in the name of it, so I might just type future in here, and then it'll bring up everything that has the word future in it. Then if you're looking for another clip that doesn't have the word future in it, and you go into your B-roll and you're like, oh no, it's all gone, don't worry. All you have to do is clear out this search bar by hitting this X, and then all of your footage will come back. Now, if for some reason you're not finding music that you like in the tracks that I put up on Drive, that's fine. You can also go to this other link on our resources page, Creative Commons. Creative Commons is a database of images, videos, music, lots and lots of different kinds of media that the creators allow other people to use in their projects as long as they give credit to the creator. So if I want to look for some music on SoundCloud, I click here and then I search for something. And for our purposes, we can uncheck this use for commercial purposes box because we're not selling anything with our videos, but we do need to keep the modify, adapt, or build upon box checked. If you search for something on YouTube, let's say cinematic music. It's going to bring you to YouTube, and you'll notice in the search bar up here that what it's done is ask for cinematic music, comma, Creative Commons. This is really important that if you do another search from YouTube while you're in here, it has to have this comma, Creative Commons after it. Otherwise, it won't necessarily bring up results that are covered by a Creative Commons license. And again, that Creative Commons license is what allows us to use it in our projects. Whenever you save it, just save the file as the name of the song, the name of the artist, which it looks like is Vexaic, and where you got the music from. So if it's not the same as the artist, so here we go, you should note that as well. That'll just help you keep track when you need to credit them in your film. Okay, two other things I want to look at really quickly. The first is we can adjust the gain on our interview A-roll audio clips the same way that we can on our music track. So if we thought that some of our audio was a little bit low, we could select the audio track, hit G on the keyboard for gain, and then this tells us that our peak amplitude is minus 10.5 decibels. That means that that's the highest level the audio was recorded at. So we could add maybe 5 decibels to this and just bring up that level a little bit. I think that this clip sounds fine with these other ones, so I'm going to undo that, Control Z. The other thing is we can add some audio transitions, some crossfades to smooth out some places where our audio doesn't sound very seamless. So let's just play through this first part.
I went on a trip to France and Toulouse last year during spring break.
I went on the Caring for Cambodia trip. I went on the Iceland trip.
Quebec City.
The Bulgaria trip.
The Toulouse, France trip.
So I think that it sounds pretty rough right here. There's a little bit of a blip in the audio.
Quebec.
I went on the Iceland trip.
Quebec City.
The Bulgaria.
So I just want to get rid of those blips. So I'm going to zoom in on this particular transition between these two audio clips. And with V selected, when you hover over two clips, the edge of two clips, this bracket with an arrow is going to show up. And if you click on that edge, it's going to highlight it. So I'm going to hit Control, I'm going to hold down Control, Shift, and D. And that's going to add a constant power fade here. And what this constant power transition is doing is it's taking the second audio clip and it's fading it up from nothing to full volume. And it's taking the first clip and it's fading it down from full volume to nothing. So let's zoom out and let's listen to what this sounds like now.
I went on the Iceland trip.
I went on the Quebec City.
So we can hear it doing that, but the problem is we don't want to hear the second interview this far back where it starts to play. So I'm going to drag this way in by hovering over the edge of it with my selection tool, and I'm going to make it 2 frames long. I wouldn't go more than 4 frames, and I think 2 frames is going to be good here. I'll zoom out and play it again.
Iceland trip.
Quebec City.
That's much smoother. So I know we need one on this edge as well.
The Bulgaria.
You can hear that blip again. So I'm just gonna, I already have this selected. I'm gonna hit Control C to copy it. I'm going to hover over the edge of these clips and click and select them, and then I'm going to do Control V to paste. And now we have another transition right there.
Quebec City,
The Bulgaria trip.
And that's much smoother. So you're going to want to go through your project and add these transitions wherever you feel that you need them. Some clips won't need them. If we zoom out here and we play this first transition,
Last year during spring break.
I went on the caring for.
that's really seamless, so I don't feel like we need to add a transition there. The other place that you might want to add these transitions, though, is at the beginning of your project and at the end. So let's go to my last interview here, the last clip from an interview that I used, and I wanted to fade out this audio, so I just added another transition here, and these ones at the end can be a little bit longer, so I made it 12 frames.
To what your role is in the bonus community.
And just makes a nice transition from having that that vocal audio playing to having no vocals playing. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions.